So, how many of you are involved in caregiving for seniors or know somebody who is? Wow. So, there's two things you better consider. One is a long-term care plan, and the other is self-care so that you don't burn out doing caregiving. I've been working in healthcare as a gerontologist for over 20 plus years in long-term care, acute care, and as an administrator in assisted living and residential care facilities for the elderly. I want to thank you all for investing in yourselves and being here today because I know how valuable your time is, so thank you. I'd like to share some solutions for solving caregiving problems, issues, or needs. How many of you would be interested in hearing some caregiving solutions? Awesome. So there's three things I'd like to talk about. Asset protection, the importance of an advanced healthcare directive advocate, and also caregiving solutions. So I'm a continuing education provider for the California State Board of Registered Nurses, as well as for the California State Legislature on senior issues as an advisor. I'm successfully sponsored Medi-Cal reform law in California, and I have a #1 best-selling book called Saving Senior Savings, Best Kept Secrets on How to Pay for Senior Services, which is a guide for seniors. And I also have a company called Senior Care of Sacramento, Placement Referral Resource Agency. I've been a community local TV producer and director, and I've had my radio show called Senior Moments on 105.5 FM. And I'm a dementia specialist with a nursing background. I'm passionate about optimizing the quality of life for seniors through taking an integrative medicine approach to their care, as well as engaging in their social and financial issues on their behalf. So, and it all started with my dad, who was an orphan. He obviously didn't have any grandparents, so I had no grandparents. My mom's parents died when I was very young, so I never had any grandparents. And so I always had this fascination, I guess. I felt like there was this void because I never had any grandparents. And I just always found seniors fascinating. And I just love their wisdom and their stories. So an example of what I was dealing with my own mom, one day she had dementia. I was her power of attorney for health care, and I took care of her for about 8 years before she passed. One day she fell in the bathroom, and I went in there to assess her, and she seemed fine, but I didn't know if she had hit her head or not because she had dementia. She couldn't tell me. She couldn't remember. So I called my brother, asked him to take her to the hospital because I had to go to work. He came, took her. He brought her back, said, "Oh, they said she's fine." I said, "Great." So the next day, she started having tremors. So I called my brother, "Did they do a CT scan of her head, make sure she didn't have a brain bleed or anything?" He goes, "No." So I took her back, asked them to do a CT scan. They did, brought her home. They said, the CT scan was good, don't worry about it. You know, people live with tremors every day. I'm like, okay. And so then, the next day, she started having full-on seizures. I took her to her primary care doctor. I got her to the primary care doctor, and she was livid. She almost started scolding me. "Why didn't you take her to the ER?" I go, "I did twice." And she said she needs to go to the ER right away and be admitted and seen by a neurologist. So I said, "Okay, I'll take her over there." She goes, "No, I'm sending her by ambulance." And so she went over there. I followed her over there. I get there. They still didn't want to admit her. So I had to just finally put my foot down and say, "She needs to be admitted. You need to follow the doctor's orders. I'm leaving." And I had to leave her there so they would admit her. So I did send my brother there later. So how many of you think that it might be a good idea to have an advanced healthcare advocate for you? And this isn't just with dementia, trust me. So this could be with any situation or anybody. So I'd like to give you a few statistics. How many of you are aware that 63% of caregivers die before the person they're taking care of? Do you know how many, or do you know who our caregivers are? 95% of them are daughters and daughter-in-laws. So mother-in-laws, be nice to your daughter-in-laws. They might be taking care of you one day. So 80% of home care is provided by families. 2 out of 3 caregivers work. 54% made changes at work so they could caregive. Some employers are even creating flex schedules now for caregivers so they can care at home. It's estimated that $257 billion would be the cost if caregivers went on strike. The average woman in America devotes 18 years caring for children and then another 10 to 15 years caring for a spouse or a loved one. California has the largest elder population in the nation. 1 out of 5 is 60 plus. I have 70-year-olds taking care of 90-year-olds. Literally, every day I get calls. Every 72 seconds, somebody develops Alzheimer's. For the first time in history, seniors outnumber young people. 70% of AARP members are helping financially support their children, and 40% of them are helping to financially support both their children and their parents. So how many of you think it might be a good idea to have some tools and resources for providing caregiving? I thought so. Because caregiving affects marriages, jobs, employers, family dynamics, and let's face it, our entire economic society. So I want to give you some solutions and answers to solving some caregiving problems, to create a long-term care plan, and to learn how to use resources to pay for that care plan, as well as how to protect your and your seniors' assets. One good thing, before I do that, is the one good thing of result of COVID that happened was it almost helped bring the healthcare system into the 21st century. But because now caregivers can have FaceTime visits with their doctors at home. So caregivers that are taking care of people with chronic illnesses, that are in wheelchairs, bedridden, use walkers, have dementia, they can do it from their home. So they no longer have to go through using their time and energy transporting them to the doctors. So this is an awesome step. So God bless, that situation. So I am grateful for the pandemic, that it helped them to, up their technology. Speaking of technology, technology can be a great gift for caregivers. I saw on social media recently a robot that was picking up toys and laundry and putting everything away, and it was really cool. I think you can buy it now. And I was thinking, wow, I would have really loved to have had that when I was raising my kids and taking care of my mom with dementia. But better late than never, I guess. There's also some prototypes out there that are helping, that they're developing for caregiving, because let's face it, if we don't have enough young labor force to take care of all these seniors who are already here, and we have another 18 years of these boomers coming down the pike, we're going to need some help one way or another. The other there's also electronic medicine dispensers now that are great. They have alarms. They can help seniors remind them to take their medicine. We have sensors and alarms you can get on Amazon easy now that let you know if your loved one's getting up out of bed in the middle of the night or whatever, if they're a fall risk. So that can help you. And my personal favorite, Alexa. Isn't she wonderful? She can entertain your seniors by playing music for them. She can tell them stories. She can tell them jokes. She can also remind them to take their medicine and remind them to eat. A lot of them forget to eat, like my mom did. And she can give GPS directions. She can make phone calls to her kids. She can call the They can call the doctor, they can call 911 if they fall, and on and on. So the future is going to be very interesting indeed. I'd like to tell you a myth that's out there. A lot of people think that you have to spend down your assets in order to qualify for long-term care Medi-Cal. And this is not true. The government created Medi-Cal and Medicaid to help you, and Medi-Cal and Medicaid, depending on what state you are, they're both the same thing. In California, Medi-Cal, it's Medi-Cal. So some people think it's welfare, but did you pay taxes your whole life? Then you paid into those long-term care Medi-Cal health benefits and those programs. The government created these entitlement benefit programs to eliminate this vicious cycle of poverty, because let's face it, if a woman is taken out of the workforce even for 10 years and she is not contributing to her 401k or a pension plan, then how's she ever going to be able to afford for her care when the time comes? This is why it's so important to have an elder Medi-Cal resource specialist help you to create an asset protection plan or a long-term care plan so that your assets can go to your heirs and you or for your health care. It's crucial to have an advocate to help you maneuver through the healthcare system. Western medicine does a great job with acute care, emergencies, broken legs, car accidents, and putting people back together. But then what? Long-term care maintenance is a whole nother ballgame. My patients is tested trying to maneuver through the healthcare system, let alone my 80 and 90-year-olds. Current hospital policies originally were set up with good intentions, but they're just not serving our long-term care needs sufficiently today. Unfortunately, we have age discrimination that is rampant, especially with our seniors who have chronic illnesses. And they're seen by many as a burden on society and the healthcare system. And there are many Dr. Kevorkian assisted suicide abuses occurring in our healthcare system today. I'm not saying there isn't necessarily a time or a place at someone's end of life when they might choose to have assisted suicide, but I believe that everyone should have a choice, and that it should not be dictated by insurance companies or healthcare systems or policies. So beware, my friends. If you don't make a long-term care plan and a power of attorney for healthcare, it's very likely that someone else could end up making the choice for you. And remember, the more money you have, the more choices and options you have. The less money you have, the less options and choices you have. So when it comes to long-term care and a power of attorney for health care, save time, energy, and money, and by learning to ask for help. Thank you.